But ultimately, my upbringing was like so many of my peers. We've all were pretty blissfully unaware that our community really looked any different to any other communities. And so I mean, one of the beautiful things about the Southeast side too, though, is while we do have all this industry, we also have a lot of green space. And I grew up just really being obsessed with our natural areas, specifically Eggers Forest Preserve. It's still probably one of my favorite places ever to go to and decompress. But because I've always had this love for natural spaces growing up, I've always been interested in preserving our environments. And of course, with my generation, I think we were the first ones to really be inundated with the fact that our natural spaces were threatened by human activity, by climate change, by all these things. It was my senior year of high school where I took an AP environmental science course, and I learned about the concept of sustainability and just fell in love with it, right? Because it was absolutely centered on preserving these spaces for generations to come. And so when I was 18 and I was going through the rounds of picking the college that I wanted to attend, I was automatically drawn to Roosevelt University because they had a whole major surrounded on sustainability studies. And I was like, oh my God, like that's it. Let's go. This is what I want to do. And it wasn't until college and going through this program that I learned about environmental justice. And I remember the director of the sustainability studies major, having a conversation with him and him telling me, he's like, well, you live in an EJ community. And I didn't. I was just, I told him that. I was like, I had no idea. And he seemed a little, taken aback by it. And really that's what started opening my eyes then to, we were talking about how I would, commute on the Metra from home to downtown. And so I started opening my eyes to all these other neighborhoods that I was passing through and really realizing just how different they looked from my own. And that was just very jarring to realize. And so when we had one of my courses had an entire unit on environmental justice and really talking about how this issue came to be and just really realizing how intentional it was through zoning, through city policy, through all of those decisions being made by, the higher powers that be, I guess you could call it, right, by government. And so it made me angry. I remember that being the prime emotion that I felt learning about this and really thinking about my community in a whole new light. And I knew that I had to keep going forward in this work. I knew this is the area that I need to delve into. It was honestly through my last semester of undergrad where that director, he pointed me to the Southeast Environmental Task Force as well. And he's like, there's already an entity that exists within your community that's tackling these issues. And so I was really one of the first few youth within the community to get involved with SETF, right? We talked earlier about how it went through this kind of transformative process of being mostly older generations, the elderly demographic within the community, to shifting to more youth and more youth being interested in the program and really fighting for our community, fighting for its vitality, we see its potential, right? And I think a lot of people tend to get used to the status quo, or they say things are how they are. It's always been this way. It's just like that. But really, I think when you bring youth perspective into it, we challenge that a lot, right? Where it's no, that's not okay. Why don't we deserve more? Why don't we deserve to look like these other communities? Why does it have to stay this way? And it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And so really that's how my own self-interest ties into this work, because I was unaware And I talk to, my fellow organizers that are my age that grew up in the Southeast side, and they'll tell you the same thing. Like, I had no idea. I thought it was normal, and that's not a lot of people's normal, and it shouldn't be, really. So